Sam Wilson here, Sam's Antique Motors. We're back in the bar here at the shop, and I wanted today to do a little video on rebuilding the generator. Generators are pretty simple, only a few things that can really go wrong with them, and it's pretty easy to test the armature, make sure all the field coils are working properly, replace the brushes, and get them back online. So I took apart a Farmall B generator, one that I'm restoring right now. It's an early Farmall, probably a 4041 model, and I'm going to walk you through the process of how to take that generator apart, how to check everything, how to fix the brushes and anything that's broken, and then reassemble it. So let's get started. Here's the generator to start. I believe this to be a correct generator for the Farmall B 1101355, and a couple of unique features. It has this little screw-on plate back here on the back, which holds the cotton wicking for the oil on the rear bushing. It had the wrong, this is a cutout. It's not the correct one, and it was rusted off, so it's kind of fouled up. Get another one of those, and it's got the correct pulley on it. So this is what it looks like to start. I'm going to knock this data plate off just so I preserve it, and then we're going to go ahead and sandblast it, get it cleaned up just so we can work on it, and then we'll take it apart. We now got this all cleaned up. Let me be clear, just to avoid any internet shaming, that I would never blast one of these generators that I was just going to be using. But given that we're going to take this thing completely apart and clean everything, not a problem. And this is still turning, and there's no grit in it, so it actually didn't get grit in the generator, but I still wouldn't do it on one that I wasn't going to take apart. This appears like it's never been taken apart, because if it's taken apart, this thing has been, or usually seriously boogered up to get them apart. And everything looks to be pretty much intact on it. Pulley looks good. Like the starter motor, this was definitely black underneath the red. You can even sort of still see some of the black here. So I'm gonna blast all of this again before painting it, but you know, these things were clearly supplied from Delco Remy in black, and then Farmall probably painted over them when they painted the tractor. So now we're going to take this thing apart and see what we find. This is the second one that I've taken this apart, where there's this cardboard band in here. It seems like to me just a good idea to wick up a bunch of water, but it's the second generator that's had that. I've never seen that on older generators, but kind of interesting. So you look down in here, it looks a little bit crusty, but the brushes are nice and square and pretty full. So, you know, those look to be in pretty good shape there. It's still got the original cotton webbing on it. It's got a little corrosion in there, but the springs are good, and the armature looks like it's never even been used. So we'll pull this off now. All right, we got the end cap off. Had to engage a little 3-jaw puller to pull the pulley off. It's just a straight fit, but it had some corrosion. And then in taking this off, someone has been in here before, because this is a sealed bearing, which it didn't come in with originally. This one's a little crusty, so we'll replace that one. Once I took that out, there's a little felt washer in the very bottom of this, and then there's this little felt retainer, and it came out, and this has a little embossed area on one side, and that embossed area was up. So the curve, I think you can see that, was towards the internals of the generator. And then you had the bearing. Neither of those do you need, by the way, with a sealed bearing. And then you have the bearing retainer plate with these 3 screws. So no problem there. And then there's a little small washer on the shaft here on the generator side of the plate, and then this bigger spacer washer was on the other side of the generator plate. You know, so it was just like that. So we'll get these all sandblasted up and ready for paint. And now let's take a look at the winding end. Okay, this is called a 3-brush generator. One of these brushes is grounded to the case. So you can see this little indexing pin, the one that's 90 degrees. So that would be in the 9 o'clock position from this pin, assuming the pin's at noon, is grounded straight to the case through this cable. Goes straight down there, it's grounded to the case. The one in the, let's call that the 4 o'clock position over here from this pin, goes over and goes to the field. I'm not sure if that's the armature or the field. Let me see if I can get it up here. Okay. Yeah, that's the armature. So this one here goes to the armature lug coming through the case, which is insulated, and the one more or less in the, let's just call it the 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock position, goes to the field coil up in here, and then the other post marked field goes to this side of the field. So it's pretty simple. So we're going to go ahead and just pull these wires off. We're going to check the continuity to make sure these two should be insulated on the post from the case. So if there's continuity between here and this, you got a problem with the insulator. So we'll check that, and but this all should be good to go. This armature I pulled off of here. Someone has redone this because there's just been almost no wear on this armature. So someone has been into it, but they does not look like they replaced the fields. When you take this little plate off, there is a little thin, probably a 10,000ths paper gasket that's on this, which this is to hold the oil, and this little wicking cotton came out of the bottom of this. So this cotton is to hold the oil. When you put oil into here, it absorbs that oil and then lets it kind of wick up in there gently. So we're going to take a pick and make sure that this passage from this bearing, this bushing, is clear. So we're going to clean all that out really good. It was kind of mucked up. Generally those are caked up with grease that's hard, and now you're not getting any oil into this rear bushing. So you want to make sure that that's clear when you do it. So everything's pretty much apart. We're going to go ahead and get everything blasted up and cleaned up, and then we should be ready to put this into some paint. I'm probably not going to replace this bushing because I think they probably replaced that when they put the new bearing in, because when it goes on this shaft, it's nice and tight, and I don't think a new bushing would be any tighter. So we're probably just going to paint this and clean it up. Technically probably wouldn't even replace the bushings, I mean the brushes, but I did order a new set of brushes, so probably do it anyway. Okay. I want to just quickly show you how to test the continuity on this plate. So I'm just using a basic multimeter. In this case, when you touch it, it's kind of hard to do it with one hand and 3 fingers, but so I can get a better run at this. When you touch these two together, it buzzes. So if you test the grounding brush, should have continuity, because this wire is connecting to make it continuity, give it continuity as a ground. But there's insulators on these other posts, and so there shouldn't be continuity. Continuity, no continuity. So you just got to kind of test to make sure that these brush holders don't have continuity like this one does. Hear the buzz? So as long as it does that, it's good to go. The other thing to do is just test the armatures. I did quite a bit of, went into very specifics about how to test the armature on the starter, and it's the same deal on both of these. So I'll go through and kind of do the test myself, but I mean, I can't hold it. I can't hold the phone and probes with one hand, but I have no reason to believe this armature is not good, because it's all the insulation is good. It's clear it's been redone. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit and make sure I'll do the 180 test and the side-by-side test on the ohm meter and just make sure everything's good, but I think it'll be fine. So these bearings are just a really standard bearing here. So this one is 1575. Oh, 1 3/4 by 0.575, which is just a little more than a half. And the inside diameter for the shaft is 0.668, a little bit less or a little bit more than a 5/8 of an inch. And this is a bearing that I had in my Model A box, because I think the Model A bearing, yeah, 668, 1 3/4, 570. So this is the exact same bearing that goes in a Model A generator, and I got a whole box full of these. Let me see if I can see there's a part number on there. It's a German-made bearing, and it's 6203.C3. It's a German FAG bearing, and it's a sealed bearing, so it doesn't have to have any oil in it. So we'll put this in there. This other one is pretty crusty. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's pretty crusty, so it's going to go in the bin. Shackleton, hey. Well, this is Shackleton. He's not feeling too good. He's had a rough week. It's like some neurological damage, but he's just a little mopey. But he's helping me put this generator back together today. So we're going to work on getting this thing back together. Now got all the parts cleaned up, painted, new gasket made for the little end cap, new 6-volt regulator. Everything, they had the wrong thing. It was a cutout and it was all bad. So got the armature all cleaned up. It's tested. Went ahead and cut it on the lathe just to smooth it out a little bit. Cut the little grooves back out of the mica in between the conductors. Got all the bolts parkerized. Got a new sealed gasket. Got some new brushes here in for this. Probably didn't have to have them, but if you look here, you know, these are kind of pretty worn out. So I went ahead and got new brushes and got our new Delco Remy tag, and it's stamped with the matching number. So everything here, and I'm going to go ahead and see if we can't see about getting this thing put back together. So first thing is, let's go ahead and get these brushes put on, and this is pretty simple to just kind of do them one at a time, but just got to go in here and cut this screw loose, and you can usually just slide those brushes out just like that, and kind of keep an eye on which way the curve is. So we want to put this one back in with the angle going just like that. So we're going to slide it right back in there, kind of flush it up relatively square. Kind of hard to hold it. And I don't think those have to just be broke off tight in there, because you don't want to tighten it so bad you wind up breaking the brush. Okay, we got all three of those on there. I did just want to point out there's a little screw on the back of this, and this brush, in a 3-brush generator, this brush, that screw loosens up this little plate right here and allows this brush to move. And that's how you adjust the charging output. I'm not going to change it because I'm assuming it was charging at the right rate. But when you're working on this, if you need to, you can unscrew that screw, loosen that screw a little bit, and then go in through the side and move that brush up or down and get more or less charge. So that's pretty much what we got to do there. These brushes were actually in in pretty sad shape. I thought they looked pretty good at first, but they're in pretty sad shape. So much for that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is put this front piece back together. And if you're using an open bearing, there's a little felt that goes down in the bottom of this. I'm putting it in here because I had it, but technically you don't need it. I don't need it because I'm going to put a sealed bearing back in that you don't have to oil. But if this were a open bearing, which is what comes in it, you got to have this little felt in here to kind of wick up the oil. And then we're going to put that right in there. And when you do that, this little washer, there's a ridge indent right here, and that points up. And I think the real reason is to allow oil to pass underneath that, because this sits down in here and gets kind of flush, right, just like that. So then this bearing snaps down in there like such, and then we have this little cap that comes over the top of it and holds the bearing in place. So I've gone through here and chased all the threads on everything that's in here, so all the threads are nice and clean. And now we just screw this down in there. Okay, now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. This is a piece of wicking felt. Again, I just had this in my supply. I'm sure you can buy it from Car McMaster. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to drop a little oil down in it. Let it wick this oil up. In this case, there is a bushing in there, and it will need to be oiled. This is on the opposite end, so it doesn't take a lot of oil. But you can see that wicking felt is just wicking up this oil. Okay, probably ought to be enough. And then we're going to put this little gasket that I made. So I just made a gasket off of this. Put this on there, put this down on there. I haven't seen a really good generator rebuild kit. There may be one, but I looked and I didn't see anything, so I just got the brushes and I already had the bearing. But any kit you have is probably not gonna come with that gasket. So just get gasket stock at your local Napa, and have a set of punches. And I just traced it, punched the holes with the punches, and you're good to go. This has the little oil cap on the other side, so in this case this will actually wind up being used. So I cleaned it all out real good. When I painted it, I taped it all off so it didn't get paint in it. Okay, so I'm gonna just get me a dab of grease. That's probably a little too big a dab of grease, but I'm gonna put a little grease on there. Really just an assembly lube. This end goes through this hole, obviously, so you got to push this little thrust washer on there. This will slide right up on there like so. There is another outside washer that goes on that, and that's going to let this spin like a charm. So now we're just going to take this and feed this housing through here. and there is a pin that has to get lined up right there. And once you get that pin lined up, that will slide right up in that housing like it's supposed to. Okay. All right. I just set that in a coffee can to make that a little bit easier to deal with here. And so now we just want to feed this down onto this deal here. And this is a little easier to do than the starters. So again, there's an indexing pin right there. So this is going to go to this one. This one's going to go to the other one. So I'm going to just kind of pull this back out of the way. Drop that one down. Maybe. It'll actually probably be easier to put those on, put these on with this out. I don't know, I can probably do it with it together. You just gotta basically kind of just work this around. Go. Ah. Okay, so we got it together. I'm going to now go in there and make sure I got the right wires on the right brush, and attach these wires back up to the brushes. So it'll basically be over here. Yeah. Okay. Okay, that took a little bit of finesse to get that worked in there, but I did get it worked in there, and I had to go back and look at my video just to confirm that the armature pole over here goes to this brush, and then this wire connects to the field coil loop. So I got that all put in there, and now we're just going to kind of work this down in there, get it into the threads on the other end. Okay, that one, this one. Okay, got both of those in there, so we're good to go on those. Okay, Okay, we've got all the fingerprints wiped off of it. Got the little keyway in there. Slide the pulley on there. Put the washer on there, washer and nut on the pulley. Sometimes there is a flat side and a curved side, so you got to make sure you get that right. There we go. And then, as I noted earlier in the video, this has this kind of thick paper liner here, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on there. And then we got the covering strap. And let's see, how's the best way to get this on there. This is gonna sit about like that. And we want this to come around to the back like this. I'm gonna make the gap of this where the gap of that is. Like so. We're going to make it screwed down so it's easy to get to in case we need to take this off. And when this comes together, this one's probably not going to overlap that much, but this side over here goes underneath this side over here. This paper on there, this is going to just meet up right where it goes. But if you didn't have that insulation paper on there, it would tighten up right up tight. So I think that's kind of what we got to do right there. And now we're going to put the data plate. So we got our new data plate here. It's going to go right here. And when you put this on, it's actually backwards to the way it kind of seems like you would put it. So when this is on the tractor, you look from this side, but the plate goes where you read it from this side. At least that's the way they come off of every one I've done so far. I may have to, it looks like this data plate is not quite big enough to accept this little rivet. So I'm going to get my drill and drill this out a little bit. All right, I just punched this out to about 7/32, 7/64. And now we'll try this again here. Yep, went right in there. Line that one up. This one is kind of the trickier one. Try with my fat fingers. There you go. So now we got the data plate on there, all stamped up like it's supposed to be. And this is going to go, I think, like this. sometimes it's really hard to get these screws in there. And I have this cool little tool that I've had since I was 13 years old. I got one for Phillips and one for regular. I don't know where in the world you'd go get it. It's made by KD 2282, but it has this little tip, and you pull this out, twist it and pull it out, and it lines that up. And when you put a screw head in there, you push it back in, and it holds the screw, and it holds it firmly, which is kind of a good deal. And so on this kind of stuff, it takes all the bullshit out of getting that screw back in there. Okay. And then this is the adjustment bracket. Put it on there, and can't actually remember which way this goes on there. I think it goes this way, but I'm just going to put it on there temporarily, so I'll confirm that when I get ready to mount it onto the tractor. Okay, there you have it. One rebuilt generator. This I'll put it on a stand to test this. I probably won't show it in this video because I probably won't test it till I get closer to putting it on the tractor. But you can connect this to a power supply, like a 10 amp battery charger. Ground the case, touch the terminal, and if it's working right, it'll motor. It'll actually spin, because the generator is just a reverse motor. So if you connect it, you don't want to do that all day long, but if it's motors, it won't spin up 900 miles an hour, but it'll definitely spin. So if you get it the motor, and it's good, and then you can actually put it on a generator spinner, which I also have, and then run it up to RPM and see if it's putting output out the regulator. So before I get it on the tractor, I'll do that. But for now, this is as good as I'm going to get. So there you have it. Hope that's helpful. Probably took about an hour and a half to put this thing back together, chasing all the threads and replacing bushes and so forth. And took about an hour to take it apart, and probably another hour to go in and clean up all the armatures and parkerize all the bolts and get everything ready to go. And I painted it with a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's probably a 3 or 4 hour exercise to build one of these and do it right. Hope you enjoyed it. Be sure and subscribe if you like it, and leave me some comments if you need to have them. Have a nice day.
Download the Resto-Rat app today to begin managing, tracking, and documenting your restoration project.